The story of Atlantis begins not in a crumbling ruin or an ancient scroll, but in the writings of the Greek philosopher Plato, around 360 BCE. In two dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, Plato describes a powerful and advanced civilization located beyond the Pillars of Heracles, commonly believed to be the modern-day Strait of Gibraltar. According to his account, Atlantis was a technologically sophisticated island empire that existed over 9,000 years before his time. It possessed great naval power, architectural marvels, and an unusually high degree of societal organization and resource abundance. But then, almost as suddenly as it rose, Atlantis vanished. Plato claims that in a single day and night of misfortune, the island was swallowed by the sea and lost forever. For centuries, this account has puzzled scholars and inspired adventurers. Was Plato describing a fictional allegory to make a philosophical point about hubris and ideal governance? Or was he referencing an oral tradition or forgotten history preserved through generations of ancient Egyptian priests, as he claimed? Some scholars believe that Atlantis was purely metaphorical. They argue that Plato used the story to explore his political ideas, constructing an idealized civilization only to show its downfall when it became morally corrupt. According to this view, Atlantis never existed as a real place. It was a cautionary tale, not a lost continent. However, not everyone agrees. Others suggest that Plato may have been drawing on actual historical knowledge, perhaps distorted over time, of a real advanced civilization that predated the known ancient world. This theory gained traction in the 19th and 20th centuries, when archaeologists began uncovering evidence of surprisingly advanced prehistoric societies. One example is the Minoan civilization on the island of Crete, which flourished around 2000 to 1500 BCE. The Minoans had multi-story buildings, complex plumbing systems, and extensive trade networks, features that resemble Plato's descriptions of Atlantis. Their sudden disappearance following a massive volcanic eruption on the nearby island of Thera, modern Santorini, is often cited as a real-world parallel to Atlantis' destruction. But this timeline is far more recent than the one Plato gave, and it only partially fits his narrative. Others point to the mysterious Riche structure in the Sahara Desert, also known as the Eye of the Sahara. Its concentric rings, visible from space, resemble Plato's descriptions of the capital city of Atlantis. Could this have once been a coastal region, now buried under sand due to shifting tectonics or climate change? There's also the enigmatic Yonaguni monument off the coast of Japan, a submerged rock formation with features that resemble man-made structures, staircases, terraces, and pillars. While mainstream geologists consider it a natural formation, others argue it could be remnants of an ancient sunken city, possibly connected to a global prehistoric culture that included Atlantis. Perhaps most intriguing is the possibility that Plato's Atlantis was neither entirely myth nor completely historical fact, but rather a fragment of collective memory, a story that encapsulated the fall of multiple civilizations whose histories were lost to time. Ancient flood myths, from Mesopotamia's Epic of Gilgamesh to the biblical Noah's Ark, all seem to echo a shared trauma, the memory of catastrophic flooding that wiped out large settlements. Could the Atlantis story be the ancient world's attempt to make sense of such a cataclysm? What keeps the mystery of Atlantis alive is not just Plato's words, but the tantalizing pieces of evidence scattered across the globe, ruins, legends, anomalies that seem to whisper of forgotten epochs. The idea that an advanced society once thrived, mastering technologies and energies we no longer understand, challenges our assumptions about the linear progression of human history. In the end, Atlantis may be less about a sunken island and more about a lost chapter of humanity, one that hints at civilizations more advanced, connected, and spiritually attuned than we have been taught to imagine. Whether myth or memory, the legacy of Atlantis refuses to be buried. If Atlantis truly existed, one of the most compelling theories surrounding its mystique is that it was home to a level of technology far beyond what we associate with ancient civilizations. The idea that the Atlanteans harnessed advanced forms of energy, particularly through the use of crystals, has captivated both alternative historians and spiritual researchers, for decades. According to these theories, Atlantean science was deeply intertwined with nature and energy. Rather than burning fossil fuels or relying on mechanical machinery, they are believed to have used vibrational frequencies, magnetic fields, and geometric harmonics to power their cities and technologies. Central to this worldview is the use of crystals, not merely for decoration or ritual, but as sophisticated tools for energy storage, healing, communication, and even propulsion. One of the earliest and most influential proponents of this idea was Edgar Cayce, often called the Sleeping Prophet. In his trance readings during the early 20th century, Cayce described an Atlantean power source called the Great Crystal, or Firestone. He claimed it was capable of focusing solar, lunar, and geothermal energy to power devices, aircraft, and even serve as a wireless energy transmitter. Ideas that bear an uncanny resemblance to some of Nikola Tesla's theories on free energy and wireless power transmission. Cayce's descriptions, though not scientifically verifiable, have been echoed by other esoteric traditions that believe crystals, particularly quartz, can interact with electromagnetic fields. Modern science does confirm that quartz has piezoelectric properties, meaning it can generate voltage when mechanical stress is applied. This is why quartz is used in watches, radios, and even some computing components today. Advocates of lost Atlantean technology suggest that the civilization had developed a deep understanding of these natural properties. They may have used massive crystals to amplify and direct energy, possibly tapping into the Earth's natural telluric currents or the hypothetical energy grid, sometimes called the Earth grid, or ley lines. By placing their power structures and temples at specific nodal points, they could have created a network for wireless energy transmission, something our modern world is only beginning to explore. There are also legends of flying machines in ancient times, often called vimanas in Vedic texts, that could be powered by mercury vortex engines or other exotic technologies. Some theorists link these to Atlantean influence, suggesting that remnants of their science diffused into other ancient cultures after the civilization's fall. Skeptics argue that no archaeological evidence exists to support these claims. However, proponents counter that much of Atlantis remains hidden beneath the sea or buried under thousands of years of sediment and tectonic upheaval. They also argue that dismissing ancient peoples as primitive may reflect our own biases more than reality. Ultimately, the notion of Atlantean crystal technology forces us to reconsider the nature of ancient knowledge. Could civilizations long before us have understood aspects of energy, vibration, and consciousness that we are only now rediscovering? And if so, what implications does that have for how we understand human history and our future? If ancient civilizations like Atlantis possessed advanced knowledge of Earth's natural energies, the logical next question is, how did they use the planet itself to harness and amplify that power? This leads us into the intriguing and often overlooked concept of the global energy grid, a theoretical framework suggesting that Earth is crisscrossed by invisible lines of energy that connect ancient monuments and sacred sites across the globe. These lines are commonly referred to as ley lines, a term coined by British researcher Alfred Watkins in the early 20th century. While Watkins originally used it to describe alignments of ancient landmarks and straight paths in the landscape, later researchers began associating these alignments with geomagnetic forces, spiritual energy, and even planetary consciousness. Some believe these ley lines represent a kind of Earth-wide circuitry, a natural grid that channels the planet's electromagnetic energies. The idea became even more compelling when researchers began noticing that many of the world's most iconic and mysterious ancient structures are located along these alignments. For example, sites like the Great Pyramids of Giza, Stonehenge, Machu Picchu, Easter Island, and Angkor Wat seem to fall along common geometrical lines when mapped using certain grid models. These structures often sit at strategic points where two or more ley lines are believed to intersect, locations sometimes called vortex points or energy nodes. One popular version of this theory was developed by Bruce Cathy, a New Zealand pilot and researcher who proposed a harmonic grid model in which energy lines intersect in regular mathematical patterns. According to Cathy, ancient builders may have had knowledge of these geometrical relationships and built their monuments at key locations to access or influence this global energy system. Proponents argue that these sites weren't chosen at random. They were deliberately positioned to maximize energetic resonance, a concept that aligns with both metaphysical beliefs and emerging scientific interest in Earth's magnetic and gravitational fields. In this view, ancient temples and pyramids weren't just religious or cultural centers. They were technological instruments designed to interact with the living energy of the planet. There's also a spiritual dimension to this theory. Many indigenous cultures, Aboriginal Australians, Native Americans, Andean shamans, speak of song lines, spirit paths, or power places that align with Earth's natural forces. These traditions seem to preserve a pre-scientific understanding of the Earth as a conscious, energetic being, suggesting that knowledge of the energy grid may have been globally shared at some distant point in the past. Skeptics often dismiss ley lines as coincidental or as patterns created by selective data. Yet the repetition of precise alignments across vast distances and the consistent placement of ancient monuments at these intersections continue to raise questions. Is it possible that early civilizations mapped the Earth with far greater accuracy and intention than we currently acknowledge? The concept of the global energy grid, when linked to the legend of Atlantis, implies that the Earth was once seen not merely as a habitat, but as a partner in energy, consciousness, and design. Whether these alignments are scientific anomalies or relics of a forgotten science, they invite a deeper reconsideration of how ancient people interacted with the planet, and what secrets may still lie hidden beneath our feet. If ancient civilizations once possessed profound scientific and energetic knowledge, potentially including free energy, anti-gravity technology, and the mapping of Earth's energy grid, why has so little of it survived in mainstream history? Why are these ideas relegated to the fringes of academia, dismissed as pseudoscience, or buried under the label of myth? This chapter explores the controversial but increasingly discussed idea that knowledge of Earth's energy systems and ancient advanced technologies has been deliberately hidden or suppressed. According to this view, the truth about human origins, consciousness, and energy may have been actively kept from the public by institutions, governments, or elite interests, due to the radical implications it could have for society. Much of this theory centers around the destruction or disappearance of ancient records. The most infamous example is the burning of the Library of Alexandria, once the greatest repository of ancient knowledge in the world. Some historians estimate that hundreds of thousands of scrolls were lost, potentially containing information on science, astronomy, medicine, and ancient history passed down from forgotten civilizations like Atlantis. Whether the destruction was accidental, political, or religious, the result was the same: an immeasurable loss of human knowledge. Another significant loss occurred during the Spanish conquest of the Americas. Mayan and Aztec codices, detailed pictorial records of ancient history, cosmology, and technology, were systematically destroyed by conquistadors and missionaries. Only a few survived. What did they contain that was deemed so dangerous or heretical? In more modern times, suppression theories often point to the scientific establishment and military-industrial complex. Innovators like Nikola Tesla, who developed ideas for wireless energy transmission and devices that could potentially tap into the Earth's natural frequencies, are frequently cited. Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower was intended to transmit energy across long distances without wires, yet funding was cut, and the project was shut down. His notes and research were reportedly seized by government agencies after his death, prompting questions about what may have been hidden from public view. Some researchers believe that rediscovering Atlantean or ancient energy systems could disrupt the current global economy, particularly the energy sector. Free or unlimited energy, if real, would eliminate the need for fossil fuels and centralized power grids. In a world built on scarcity and control, such a shift would be revolutionary and highly disruptive to those who benefit from the status quo. Whistleblowers and former insiders have occasionally emerged with claims of classified technologies secret archaeological finds, or advanced knowledge being suppressed by government or corporate interests. Whether or not these claims are credible, they contribute to a growing public sense that we are not being told the full story. At the core of this belief is a simple, unsettling question. If ancient cultures were more advanced than we thought, spiritually, technologically, and scientifically, what else have we misunderstood? And who benefits from keeping that truth hidden? While mainstream science demands hard evidence, history has shown that power often dictates what is remembered and what is forgotten. The suppression of ancient knowledge may not only be about protecting power structures, but also about preventing a radical shift in human consciousness, one that reconnects us with energy, the Earth, and our lost potential. If the Earth's energy grid is real, if ancient civilizations like Atlantis understood how to interact with it, and if this knowledge has been forgotten or hidden, then the final and most important question is, what do we do with this understanding now? In recent years, there has been a growing movement to reawaken human consciousness to these ancient systems. This isn't just about revisiting myths or rediscovering lost science. It's about recognizing that the Earth itself is an energetic, living system, and that we are meant to live in harmony with it, not apart from it. Some believe that ancient civilizations were deeply attuned to planetary rhythms, using sacred geometry, harmonic frequencies, and aligned structures not only for practical energy, but also for spiritual alignment. Their temples, pyramids, and stone circles were designed with mathematical precision, often aligned with solstices, equinoxes, and celestial bodies. These weren't just monuments, they were resonant instruments, tuning humanity to the pulse of the Earth. Today, spiritual seekers, researchers, and energy workers are attempting to reactivate these nodes, whether through meditation, sound healing, geomancy, or simply by visiting sacred sites with conscious intent. The idea is that by returning our attention to these energy points and lines, we begin to heal the disconnect between human consciousness and the natural world. This awakening also includes a renewed interest in personal energy mastery. Practices like Kundalini yoga, breathwork, qigong, and sound vibration therapy are often framed as ways to realign the body with Earth's frequency. The Schumann resonance, the Earth's natural electromagnetic frequency, approximately 7.83 Hz, is often cited as being in sync with the human brain's alpha state, suggesting a deep biological link between our well-being and the planet's energetic field. Beyond the spiritual and personal, the implications could be technological. As science explores quantum fields, resonant energy, and frequency-based medicine, we find echoes of what ancient traditions may have already known. Free energy devices, once thought to be fantasy, are now the subject of serious research in fringe physics communities. Could we be on the cusp of rediscovering what Atlantis may have once mastered? Yet, this is not merely about technology. It's about reclaiming a forgotten relationship, one where the Earth is not a resource to exploit, but a sacred system to understand and co-create with. If the energy grid exists, and if it once powered not just machines, but also a higher state of consciousness, then reawakening it could be a key to elevating humanity itself. Some believe that a global awakening is already underway, that we are entering a new era of energetic sensitivity and collective remembering. Ancient prophecies, such as those of the Mayans, Hopi, and Vedic seers, speak of a return of the Golden Age, a time when humanity reconnects with its true origin, purpose, and power. In this light, Atlantis is not merely a sunken city or a lost continent. It is a symbol of potential, a mirror of what humanity once was, and a beacon for what we could become again. The grid is not just beneath our feet, it is waiting within us, ready to be activated.